Hello and welcome to the second card in this month's online class. This is a technique making a background and also the reflection technique of the tree. It's a little bit of colouring and a little bit of other things as well, but I'll just crack on in with it, I think. Okay, so this is going to be the finished card, but to start with we are going to have a white Whisper White card blank, okay, and we're going to need some ink pads. So I have chosen Coastal Cabana, crumb cake and pistachio pudding, because why not? They were all just so yummy. And I'm going to grab my really big clear block. Okay, you want a block that's bigger than your piece of card ideally, so you do want a nice big block or a nice small piece of card. I'm going with the big block. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my inks, and I'm going to, I don't know if you can see that, you splodge this kind of in the middle. Okay, don't worry too much about trying to make a pattern. It won't kind of make a pattern for you. What you can do is just kind of give it a bit of guidance. So I'm going to do a couple of stripes top and bottom. Okay, oh, whoops. And then the last one is going to be the Coastal Cabana. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that on there. You could do this with marker pens if you wanted to, as well as the ink pads, and I'll show you the two different results you'll get later, depending on which one that you do. Okay, so you might be thinking, what on earth is she doing? So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to spray it with water. Okay, so I would tend to do this away from the desk, but if I do it away from the desk, you're not going to see it. So I'm just going to spritz it with some water. Okay, so it's going to get all lovely and mucky. Okay, and I'm then going to turn it over and add my piece of card. Okay, so flipping it over and placing the card down. Okay, I want to make sure it's nice and pressed firmly. Okay, can you see that? Yeah, I think you can. So what's happening now is the card is absorbing the water and the ink, and it's making it run. And what's happening here, can you see? It's beginning to kind of crystallise, which is pulling the water off of the block onto the card. So you need to wait till all that magic's happened. La 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 la. And sometimes you want to leave it maybe a few seconds longer than you think, just to be sure. Still moving at the minute, so I will just give it a few more seconds. You could do all sorts of backgrounds with this. You could do sunsets, or evening skies, or whatever you wanted. This particular one, I obviously wanted it to look like a reflection, so I've done something different. So you're going to pull that off. Okay, and you can see already that's leaving me with a nice image. Don't worry about the fact that it's got drops and things on it, that will all dry out. So with the magic of TV, I'm going to put that to one side and grab myself one I did earlier. Okay, so this means I can now stamp on it. Okay, so I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit with my bone folder, just so it's nice and easy to stamp on. Okay, so you can see where I'm at. So next things next, I'm going to grab myself my Lovely as a Tree stamp set, and yes, I know for those who've been following Stampin' Up for a long time, it is still in the book, but let's be honest, you cannot improve on perfection, so why would it not be in the book? We are going to ink it up with Stays On first, okay, and I want to stamp this onto the grass. Okay, lovely. You always get such a beautiful image with these particular stamps. Next, I'm going to grab my basic grey ink and my imaging sheet from my Stamp-A-Majig. Now the Stamp-A-Majig has two sides, one that's rough and one that's smooth. I want to use the smooth side, and I'm just going to ink up my stamp with the grey ink and stamp it onto there. If I use the Stays On, it would dry too quickly and I wouldn't get the effect I want. So I've just turned that upside down and I'm just pressing it with my finger so that I get the reflected image. So you can see that? Beautiful. Okay, it's very clever. You could do that with loads of shapes, so little boats or all sorts. I love it, absolutely love it. Okay, then we're going to add a bit of colour, so a little bit of watercolouring. So I've just grabbed my markers for this. Now I have to say, when I'm colouring my trees in, I do it nice and gently, and I really try not to colour it perfectly. I like to have lots of gaps because trees would have gaps where the branches and things would be, and I like it to not look like a 10-year-old's done it. So if it's too perfect, it just looks like you're a child trying to do it. So I've left a few gaps there, as you can see, so it doesn't take very long to do at all. What I'm then going to do is, with the same ink pads that, pens that I've just used, I'm going to pop a little bit onto my block that I used earlier of both colours. Okay, I'm going to grab myself a blender pen, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick those colours up so that in my reflected image I have a little bit of it, the colour, but not masses of the colour. Okay. Okay, so hopefully you can see that's coming together quite nicely, that little image. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to take it to one side and I'm going to chop that down at the sides, because I always like to start with a slightly bigger piece so that then I can cut out the bits that don't quite take, and so it appears exactly how I want it to. So going back to my original, la la la, there we go. So I've just matted and layered it. So again, 14.5 centimetres, so 29 centimetres by, no, 14.5 centimetres by 21, scored at 10.5, 14 by 10, 13.5 by 9.5, and 13 by 9. Okay, so that's my layers. Then to make this lovely little greeting, what I've done is I have stamped out, yet again using the label of love and the matching punch, I have stamped out the happy birthday, which I'm going to show you. So again, I want to grab myself a little piece of scrap card and the baked brown sugar ink. Yum, yum, yum. Okay, so then we're going to stamp it once. Okay, now a little tip on this one, it is a distressed stamp. Okay, and you might think, well, obviously, Hayley, but some of my ladies recently weren't quite aware of that, and I think one particular lady, not mentioning any names, may have stamped it out several times wanting it to become a perfect image, and obviously it's not going to be a perfect image because look, it's designed to be slightly distressed. Okay, so we're going to punch that out with our punch. So again, popping it in upside down, popping it around and going from there. We are then going to, missed that completely, didn't I? Pop another one out. Okay, now this is what I like about some of our punches, is that you don't need to buy a separate punch to layer them up and to have a bit of a border around it. So what you can do is you can just punch yourself one in a different colour. So I've used the baked brown sugar because that's what I've stamped in, so it makes it nice and coordinated. We're then going to add a little bit at the bottom and a little bit at the top, and hey presto, your image has a little bit of a border and it makes it pop. So when I pop it onto the card, you can see straight away it stands out much more than it would have done otherwise. Okay, so that's a little technique on backgrounds, reflection technique, a little bit of colouring, and a little tip for masking with your punches. Okay, hopefully you've enjoyed that one. That is the end of my second card. I shall go and get ready for my third card now for the online class. Don't forget, all products are available through myself or from Stampin' Up, which is over at www.craftwithhayley.com. I'll happily place any orders that you need. So obviously we need things sometimes. Okay, back soon. Bye.